This episode is the culmination of Riku vs. GBN. We start with a flashback to establish the tone. And the battle begins with some effective shooting and dodging, and after the opening credits, we get a short but effective use of Katsuragi calling for a status update to remind the audience where the main characters are and to show how confident the coalition is. Maggie somehow got away from Rommel since the last episode, and after finding Tiger and Joffrey, all three of them are surrounded by Rommel's forces, and I feel like we're missing a scene. Maybe Rommel was distracted by something shiny. This has always been Rommel's argument, how important GBN is for some people. That's why from his perspective, this is a necessary sacrifice. All Rommel can do is try to rationalize his decision by saying Sarah's not human. The other Force leaders counter by saying they can save everyone, and Joffrey even compares it to getting the true ending in a game. The Force leaders get the ethical question of life versus quality of life and what constitutes a necessary sacrifice, whereas the other characters get the stealth character with the perfect counter for funnels, telling the artillery guy to go make himself an easy target. The reason for this lack of common sense is pretty simple. The story needs to be Riku's friends try to help him, and they can't. In other words, pay no attention to the obvious solution nobody talks about. Karuna is going out of his way not to do any real damage, and this versus Momo's unconventional fighting style could have worked. Instead, Momo's Gunpla just runs away. Katsuragi's nice enough to let Sarah watch the battle. Riku activates Transam, Kyoya activates the Gundam Age equivalent of Transam, and then Riku unveils a new super move. This time, Riku used his transformation ability to turn the Buster Cannon into a laser bow that fires laser arrows because fantasy! And I'll give the show credit, it's only on here for a few frames, but the 00 Sky actually turns into its melee mode, so the arms can move in order to fire the arrow. And then Kyoya blocks the attack without even using a special energy shield. This exchange shows how much Riku has improved since the first episode, but it also shows the difference in strength and how far Riku has to go, because let's face it, Kyoya is still the Gunpla champion. Normally this is cliche villain behavior that gives the hero time to recover, but Kyoya actually wants Riku to succeed, and this is in keeping with his sense of honor, so it actually kind of works in this case. There's a little montage to show how the rest of the build divers are losing. This is supposed to be funny. Your mileage may vary. Cue dramatic save! Ogre shows up just in time with reinforcements. And this isn't just Ogre plus all the named characters. We also see some characters in the background showing how Ogre called on his entire force to help Riku and the build divers. This is the explanation given for why Ogre's force Hyaki is able to join this force battle. The best interpretation for this is Hyaki tried to join, and then Riku just clicked accept all allies without reading the list of allies because he's done this before. The alternative is Hyaki joined the battle, or possibly even formed an alliance with the build divers, without someone in the build divers having to approve this. That's just another example of bad game design, and this could easily be solved with a scene where Riku asks Ogre, or Doji, or Yuki asks Doji to form an alliance. Ogre could then say no without formally rejecting the offer. This way, Hyaki accepts a force request that was pending, and this screen that says Force Information Build Divers Alliance List would actually make sense. I'll just assume launching from a force nest isn't the same as participating in a force battle. At least Ogre's motivation makes sense, and he explains it in typical Ogre fashion. Ogre charges in, gets knocked around by Kyoya, and is saved by Riku. This keeps the narrative from being Riku had to be saved by Ogre, and it means that now they're equals. They're helping each other, they're allies. As opposed to this scene, which is just protect the women, while indirectly insulting them. And Momo is supposed to prove how not weak she is by kicking the enemy as he's falling. Now that Momo's character suffered enough, it's time for the main event. Kyoya's obviously stronger, but he is juggling two opponents, and that's why he targets Ogre's ranged weapons. This makes sense from the perspective of strategy, and it means we don't have to have Ogre doing beam spam for the whole battle. Kyoya's main advantage are his funnels, and we actually see one just shatter one of Ogre's swords. Then when these two try to attack together, Kyoya dodges, and Riku kind of accidentally hits Ogre with the sword. This whole exchange is Riku and Ogre are taking more damage, but Kyoya's losing weapons. Kyoya could, for example, store his beam rifle, but that takes a little bit more time, so he threw it away so he can deal more damage, and he still has ranged weapons anyways. I'm gonna slow this down so you can see all the detail and the weight behind these attacks. This isn't just punching, these are precision strikes to the face. That's a lot of damage, but Kyoya still lost 2 funnels and a beam rifle in that whole exchange. Riku starts talking about how Kyoya was his inspiration to get into Gunpla battles, and how much he cares about GBN, all of his friends, etc. And while he's doing this, Ogre is prepping his lava sword. The build divers start talking about how Sarah has touched their lives, how much she means to them. I'm gonna focus on Ayame and Koichi. Ayame has stronger symbolism. She's finally taking her mask off during a Gunpla battle, and her Gunpla changing from red to green is a reference to the unicorn that it's based off of, but Koichi has more impact. This is someone who was left behind when GBN replaced GPD, and he was just going through the motions, and they even cut from Koichi to Shiba, showing how, yeah, Shiba was affected too. Riku gives a very effective hero speech about how it's wrong to kill Sarah because she was created by everybody's love of the Gundam franchise, and this all culminates in... the best line of the episode. That is perfectly consistent with Ogre's character, and it's even better if you think maybe they do spend too much time talking during these Gunpla battles. No more talking! Epic clash of super moves while yelling because yelling makes you stronger! Aside from this whole thing ending in a clash of super moves, the fight choreography for this main battle was on the same level as the GPD battle in episode 13. Now that Kyoya's been defeated, Riku's off to rescue Sarah, no matter how ridiculous the episode has to get. This is the kind of thing that needs to be hinted at in advance. Katsuragi's still here, and since his GBN avatar is an SD Gundam, this could be interesting. Riku still has his sword, diver combat is something that was already established, so get ready for... disappointment! Normally, winning a force battle triggers an automatic notification. Having Katsuragi do it gives him something to do, but there is an unfortunate implication. If retrieve means get Sarah away from the castle, Riku hasn't succeeded. Kind of undermines Riku's accomplishment if you think about it too much, don't it? The sad thing is, everything is here for a better ending. If this is supposed to be the victory condition, someone reaching Sarah, the notification should trigger automatically. As for giving Katsuragi something to do, what if Kyoya could only block his admin privileges because there was an active force battle? Force battle's over, Katsuragi now has the ability to kill Sarah, but he chooses not to because he believes in Riku. Same if not better emotional impact, but we don't undermine our hero's accomplishments. Ditch the inflatable plot contrivance, have Momo do something more to contribute, and we'd have a resolution that's actually worth all the build-up. As far as endings go, this works as long as you don't think about it too much. The point was to show that Riku and the Build Divers can do what others think is impossible. Now that the Build Divers have rescued Sarah, they just have to get her back to the hub world so they can transfer her to the real world. There's just one little building-sized problem. That's the raid boss, the final enemy for the final episode of Gundam Build Divers. Good thing Kyoya let everybody repair their Gunpla at his force nest. This is the Hypervisor, signing off.